welcome to Brain Balance Live, where we come together each week to discuss building strong connections with our neurodiverse children. Each week we go over new tools for your parenting tool belt. I am Jessica, a Farmer Loves Phonics, a fellow parent and literacy advocate. And this, of course, is the amazing Heather Wells, our expert from the Brain Balance Centers near you in Texas. She is a therapist, certified cognitive specialist, and national autism speaker. Hello, Heather. How are you today?
Hello. Well, you're the one who has big things going on with 2 kids starting school, right?
I do. We are going back to school. We are meeting the teacher tonight. So all the things are happening.
How are your kids feeling about school? Are they both excited? Do they have any reservations? It's always a mixed bag. Depends on the
My kids love school. They definitely love to go. My little one doesn't like to wake up early, though. That's the only thing. Sleep. We've got to get the sleep under control because in the summer they stay up late and want to sleep in late. So that's something we got to work on.
Yeah. Well, we have school starting at all different dates around here. And so we are talking about navigating difficult emotions associated with back to school. And a lot of our kiddos have difficult emotions on a more regular basis, and this can be one more thing that exacerbates it. Maybe you have other kids who usually don't, but this is a time of year that's difficult. So if you have any questions, please type them in as we're going along. But the first slide really talks about how we have physiological changes in our brain when we're having these big emotions. You know, the fight or flight response is the short version of what it's usually called, is what kicks in to keep us safe if we're in danger. There's a tornado funnel cloud, or there's someone trying to mug us. The fight or flight makes us stronger and faster so we can hopefully get to safety. Our bodies respond in the same way when we're dealing with difficult emotions. We can go into a fight or flight without the presence of physical danger. And so we always talk about wanting engaged learners, and I'm sure Jessica can give you lots of tips about how to get engagement going because she is a mentor to teachers all over the place. But I can only be engaged if I am calm, if I'm getting enough sensory stimulation, enough that I'm engaged with you and attentive, but not so much that it's overwhelming. When I'm engaged, I'm going to be able to practice mindfulness. I'm going to be curious. So many times little ones love learning and lots of why questions. I'm able to be compassionate, consider other people's feelings because my feelings aren't taking up my whole mental sketch pad. I have room for empathy and considering other people's feelings. Joyful, I'm present. By the way, even as parents, one of the reasons it's so important to engage in self-care, besides the fact that you deserve it, is if you get overwhelmed with all the demands of parenting, it is just humanly impossible to be as attuned and present as you otherwise would, and it is no reflection on you. It is probably trying to do too much. We have so many parents who beat themselves up and dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's, and that's admirable. Take care of you also. It makes you a better parent, spouse, worker, everything. But just grounded, having perspective. I'm at ease, empowered. I can handle whatever comes my way. I can see, I don't just get honed in on this telescopic view of this one thing that works me up. I can take the whole big picture, put things in context, connect the dots with what I'm learning, and I also connect with people. Now, the fight or flight, this is what gets a lot of kiddos in trouble. You might see anger, rage, anxiety, worry, panic attacks. With or without panic attacks, they can be in the fight or flight. If they in this stage, you can say or do things that are not at all indicative of morals, character, parenting. In fact, this is called the fight, flight, freeze, or fib response in a lot of the research because in this mode, kids are in self-preservation. A lot of kids will say they did their homework when they didn't, or I don't have any homework tonight. And they're not necessarily trying to lie. If they're in the fight or flight, they are just trying to preserve. I'm overwhelmed and I'm trying to get some space here. I'm having a hard time keeping up. A lot of kids get anxious because, man, I barely got through last year. And a lot of kids won't even complain. They won't participate in class, or they just kind of shut down or give vague answers. They don't want adults sometimes to know they're struggling or how hard they're working. There's a certain automation that's supposed to come with learning as you get it down to where you're not just constantly sprinting all the time. I can't sprint any faster, and this year takes it next level. So the world seems dangerous, chaotic, and unfriendly. Now, freeze, this can look like task avoidance. You might hear a lot of negative self-talk I'm stupid, I can't do it, nobody likes me, really being down or depressed, saying no, seeming negative when really that may not be their personality, just shutting down, not participating in activities, whether it's class activities, social activities, depends on what their areas that are anxiety provoking are. Some kids have, or adults have, generalized anxiety that's kind of across the board. Others have social, others have performance anxiety. There are many different ways this plays out. I'm buried under a huge load. I can't get out. I'm alone in my despair. Whether or not they are, they often feel that way. The world is empty, dark, and hopeless. If it's hopeless, why even try? And then these kids often get accused of being, having bad attitudes. They're just being difficult. If only you would apply yourself. That is a shaming statement, because what if they are? We're trying to show belief in kids when we say that. So what do we do to keep kids from going into the fight or flight? There are certain neurodevelopmental struggles where this is going to be an issue until we take care of them. But aside from that, other kids who go into this, what can we do? So let's move on. Kids learn and develop better when these needs are met by adults. Emotional and physical safety. I think the physical safety is a no-brainer. Emotional safety doesn't just mean that someone's not overtly emotionally abusive to a child. It means I know that I have space and allowance to express my feelings, and I'm not going to be judged for it. I'm not going to be told not to feel that way. And also, the expectations are reasonable. I mean, when we talk about what somebody can and cannot do on these bullet points, we're not talking about that they'd never be able to do them. The power of yet, growth mindset. But in this moment, are we expecting too much? What can we let go? We always tell kids, be the best you can be. That sounds so fantastic. And it is on a certain level. But sometimes kids start feeling like I can't be my best all the time at everything. I'm sure we feel that way as adults too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just like on social media, you may have a neighbor who's like, oh my goodness, Betty Homemaker, and look at the cute little thing she knitted. And I never do that. Well, for every place our time goes, it takes out of something else. Some people put it into cooking. Some people, you're spending all this time on homework time with your kids. So we get into this sort of compare and despair trap. Well, if we can do that as adults without these issues, certainly kids can as well. And in the big scheme of things, how much does this matter? What are some maybe extracurriculars they can let go? I am a huge fan of extracurriculars. I mean, you can learn so much about perseverance and sportsmanship. Just the sky's the limit on what you can learn there. We have some kids who are in 6 extracurriculars at a time year round. It's like a CEO schedule. They must have downtime also. They need to receive attention and be understood. And if they're not getting it as much as they need in the positive way, negative attention is better than no attention. So pay attention, catch your kids being good. We know that intuitively, but it's also our job to train and instruct kids. And so it tends to skew to where there's more correction than praise for progress, perseverance, the strategy they tried. Adults value what I say and do. They really care about what I'm saying. They don't just talk at me, they talk with me. They ask questions instead of just fixing things. There's no judgment. It's very comfortable. These one-on-one conversations. I've done shows in the past about how to get past vague responses that you could revisit if you want on that one. There are lots of tips. Sometimes the timing matters. I mean, how was your day? We're anxious after school. Maybe their fuel tank's empty and they just need to sort of decompress first. Maybe they need a snack. There are a lot of different tools and things that get in the way that I shared on that show. To recognize, calmly handle, and normalize strong emotions. All emotions are valid. You know what? I get frustrated sometimes too. What is this? Emotions are to be, listened to, not obeyed. What is this emotion telling you? And give examples of how emotions have given you a cue about something. By the way, if kids are anxious or worried about something, it also probably means they care about it, even if they're acting like they don't. They may act like they don't care because if they fall short, they feel like a failure. But if I act like I don't care and I fall short, that's why I didn't do well. It's this maladaptive coping technique sometimes. But when kids name emotions, if they only have the 8 crayon colors in the box of colors, Give them the 64 count box. Give them, 3 other words for an emotion akin to the one that they think they're feeling. Don't tell them they're not feeling what they like. I'm so mad. Maybe they are mad. So you're not mad. You're just frustrated. We don't want to do that. You know what? One time something similar happened to me and I thought I was mad. But then when I thought about it, I realized I was just a little bit disappointed. I was actually frustrated. Talk about what the differences in the words mean. We do that. Kids actually start experiencing emotions on a level more in keeping with what really happened. Feeling competent and independent. Adults notice when I do well, provide tasks at which I can succeed. Being collaborative problem solvers instead of fix it. It's so hard because we don't want our kids to struggle. This grows so much self-worth. And they start realizing what they can do. And a skill they learn in one area, they then apply in other areas. To stimulate my senses and interest. Perpetual boredom is registered as stress in the brain. So that is pretty interesting, right? I mean, boredom is stress. We have a lot of twice exceptional kids with or without that label. And twice exceptional means you're gifted in one or more areas, and then you may have a learning difference. It's called learning disorder in the schools. I like difference. In other areas in the same body. We have a lot of kids who are all different ages in their brain, depending on what skill you're talking about. And they do well in the subject because they like it. They don't do well because they think this one's too easy. Well, what can you do to up the ante? You talk to the teachers, but also what can you do at home? How can you connect the dots with things? How does this apply to their hobbies, their interests, a vacation you took? Make sure it's multi-sensory. It's really good to have movement breaks during homework time. All of that really resets the brain. A sense of belonging, relationships. Oh, I don't know my classmates. I don't know, what is my teacher going to be like? That causes a lot of anxiety. We are born for connection, even introverts. We all have it to different degrees, but we need those connections. Ability to predict and have some control of my life. We're going to talk about how to do that in a moment related to school. To be loved and have a sense of self-worth. So these are foundational. What can you do at home to get these in place? And now we'll get very specific as we go into school. So let's move on. All right. So what is going on in your child's head? Do you know? A lot of kids have mixed emotions. I'm excited because I'm on the football team. I'm really dreading civics class. I've heard that teacher is really hard and there's tons of reading, and reading is really difficult for me. I can do it. People don't even realize I'm struggling. I wonder if that person who was bullying me last year is going to be there this year. This year's harder. Last year was hard enough. So ask open-ended, specific questions. So open-ended, you don't want to ask yes/no questions. You want to ask questions that require like a full sentence or more of response. How are you feeling about school? That might be too broad. So what are you most excited about this year in school? What are you most nervous about? Just things like that. What do you think you're going to learn in math this year? If you know they struggle in math or they love math, ask that still open-ended question, but it's more targeted. Sometimes just broad, wide, open to the world questions. Man, I don't even know where to begin on answering that, so I don't answer. I give a very vague response. I don't know. Okay, I don't know as an answer, except when, how are you feeling? I don't know. That might be a real answer. And it's okay to not know how you're feeling. Sometimes kids don't have the emotional intelligence yet. So get them talking. And if you're nervous about school, try to ask questions calmly. Not, are you nervous about school this year? We got to be there. That can be subconscious. I don't think any of us would do that on purpose. But you're like, holy moly, here we go again.
Right.
Please tell me second verse is not same as the first, but ask just really calmly. Maybe you're going to get their favorite snack. You're out in the backyard on the swing, having popcorn, something that makes it relaxing. Not we're going to have a talk about school. Just easing it into the conversations. And if you have several more days or a week or so before school starts, even better, where you gently weave these in. Breed familiarity. This is how we get predictability. A lot of anxiety comes from, I have trouble with the big picture. I don't get cause and effect. I don't understand consequences. I'm lacking sense of time. So my world doesn't have predictability like other people's does. How can we breed it? Visiting the school before school starts, inviting friends over, classmates, so that what can we do that's familiar? Get them knowing a couple of their classmates before they start, and things that you know about the teacher that are positive. If it's a middle school student, practice that locker combination, until that's second nature. Walk the halls and show them from class to class and kind of map out, okay, maybe between second and third period, you pick up books for the next 2 periods, because of where they're located. Kind of map all of that out. Have important information inside their planner. Practice using the planner, not just for school. This breeds familiarity, but it also makes the planner not this dreaded thing. There are a lot of myths about planners. One is planners don't work for my kid. And I understand why it would seem that way. I really do. But it probably means that we need to practice. Planners do not give us organization skills and time management skills in our brain. It requires some of those to use it in the first place. It also requires sensory skills, by the way. If I don't know where I am in space, I have trouble understanding where that assignment at that space on that page, how does that relate to time? There are a lot of cognitive abilities required to use them. So it requires practice, intentional instruction. So if you're having a birthday party, have them write that down. Front load the planner with things they have to look forward to, where not every conversation is nothing but school. When are you going out of town for that weekend getaway? If they are going to have they're kind of hosting their own party, planning out what are the steps to getting ready for this, and by what time should I have the refreshments, and have them space it out. And that way it's also a fun thing. But also, there is no such thing as the perfect planner. You can read a lot of articles, the top 10 planners. How does your child's brain work? Most kids will pick a planner based on what it looks like. I like the color. It's glittery. It has my favorite superhero on it. Ask kids, how will you use this to keep track of your assignments? And if they don't know, and if you've really been working to get familiarized with how your child's brain is working, or you're working with professionals who know your child's brain really well, ask them, what are some good planner recommendations? And then say, and you know what, you can decorate it however you want, or, within reason. But that way they can still customize it. So that's another thing. There's no perfect planner. Planners work, but you have to work the planner and you have to practice. Just how many things can you do? If school hasn't started yet and you can't get in the school, for younger ones, you could go to the playground, walk around the playground and talk. What do you think you'll do at recess? All of those things, even driving around the outside of the building, that's where the gym is. All of those things make me feel more comfortable. But meet their needs based on the answers to the conversations you're having. If they're having trouble coming in with what to say, I have so many resources if you're interested. Like if for little ones, I have pictures with lunch boxes on them. Have them decorate your ideal lunchbox as they're talking, and that's fun. And that kind of changes the mood as they're talking. Or just have them journal. You can have a parent-child journal where they will write down some of their thoughts and then you respond, because sometimes that's easier than saying it out loud. What support will you need? You parents. Because how busy have you been this summer? And now you're adding homework and extracurriculars to the equation. Divide and conquer. Who's going to do what? One of the biggest things to keep in mind is it possible that you are doing certain tasks for the kids that they drain you like nobody's business, and your spouse or significant other or grandparent, whomever else might be involved in the line, I don't mind doing that at all. I kind of like it. It's kind of therapeutic for me. Talk about any things that are draining you. Go through this list. Are there any kind of roles that you can switch? What can your family simplify? What can you say no to? Prioritize values. We have this pressure of saying, yes, 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 and keeping up with the Joneses. Simplify. Were you going to say something, Jessica?
I love that. And I like the idea of switching roles, because, if like making lunch is a task that you just dread because I don't even know what to pack for lunch. I don't know what the kids are going to eat. They're going to just not eat anything that I pack. I think that, would be a great role to swap. Be like, oh, well, my husband likes to pack the lunches. Oh, I didn't even realize that. So I love that. Right. I'm going to do that tonight.
Awesome. All right, let's move on. I won't spend a ton. I'm going to talk about several specific types of conversations to have with kids in a moment. I wanted to just make a brief stop here in case you have kids or you are nervous based on some of the events in the news right before school is out in the spring. And I know in Texas that struck really close. It struck close to home for all of us. Mm-hmm. And there are many stories around the country and world of things happening. Take a screenshot of this if you want. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but briefly, children under 7, there is no onus on you to bring it up because they may or may not hear about it. If they do bring it up, then you ask open-ended questions like, what'd you hear? And be concrete, assure them they're safe, but wait until they ask questions before restarting the conversation. Tweens and teens, they are going to hear about it. Find out what they know. State the facts, allow them to set the pace. Not, we're going to sit down until we've hammered this out. No. It might be little drips of it. Encourage them to express their feelings, empathize, ask if they have questions, keep an eye on them for overload. But they might just need extra love and nurturing during this time. Encourage expression in a form that works for them. Like I mentioned drawing a minute ago. But either filter or watch the news with tweens and teens. Because they don't need to see all that. We don't need to see all of that. We don't need to watch it for hours and hours. We need to know what's going on in the world. But there is a whole psychology behind that I won't get into today. I just wanted to touch on that because I've actually had several families bring that up as school resumes. Okay, now let's move into a lot of other conversations. It's okay to have mixed emotions. A lot of kids don't know that. What is wrong with me? I'm excited about school and I also totally dread it. That's so weird. I'm weird. I'm messed up. Give examples of times. When we lose a loved one, we have absolute love and gratitude. We may have peace because they were suffering before. We're also mourning, and that's not selfish. We mourn the loss of that relationship and who that person is, but none of those cancel each other out. It's very important for kids to know that, and if they can't articulate it, help them find the words without telling them how they're feeling. Family meetings. I think for a lot of families, of course, whatever works for your family is what's best for your family. A lot of families find Sunday nights the best time to do this. It's a time to sort of just set the stage for the upcoming week. And I think this could be an entire show just about family meetings. But as it relates to school specifically, I'll stick with that right now. It's a good idea for everyone you want to create a visual calendar for the school year. And, junior high football or middle school football is on Tuesday night, varsity on Friday night. Sarah has gymnastics on Thursday. Dennis, just put the schedule where everyone can see it. And that breeds familiarity. It just makes things go a lot smoother. Are there any things upcoming this week that we need to make sure we know about? Oh, honey, I thought you were taking Jason to the dentist on Monday. No, remember I have that meeting. You work all those things out. But it's also a good decompression time. What was your favorite part of this week? What was your least favorite? Why? What did you learn? What was the funniest thing? Have connection and make it fun, not this dreaded. It's not like around a board meeting table. But family meetings, I may just do an entire show on that. But get that visual calendar going. And by the way, give kids some say in this to the extent that it makes sense. You may want them to hit the homework the instant they get home. Let's knock this out. I understand if that's the case. Kids may need a minute. They may need to get out and run around, grab a snack, talk through those things and come up with a plan that works, and then be flexible in seeing how it's working and what can we adjust. I probably will do an entire show on setting up the right environment for a lot of things later. Bullying is a big one. I did an entire bullying show, and wow, that got a lot of views and a lot of people reaching out about that show. There are so many things to know about bullying. And one is if your child is being bullied, when you're referring to the person, you want to talk about the person doing the bullying instead of the bully. And the reason is we don't want to ascribe negative character or personality labels to anyone, our children, but anyone else because, they did that, so they're a bully. I failed this, so I'm stupid. I'm a bad reader. They will not understand. And the other thing is when the ones doing the bullying are not labeled a bully, there is less reciprocation of the bullying behavior, and there's much improvement in the social emotional skills of that person. Also know that there is this huge thing of a child gets bullied, or a teen tween, and then they start bullying someone else. The number one reason kids don't stand up for themselves or others when someone is being bullied is fear. I may handle it wrong. There's going to be retaliation. They may feel guilty because, man, better him than me. And I can't believe I'm a bad person because I think that. Talk about being an upstander versus a bystander. Depending on your kid's age, bystanders are complicit. They're just watch the bullying show. But are there any concerns about that your kids may or may not have brought up to you? A lot of times, kids do not tell their parents because that individual may have threatened them if they did. In fact, that happened to me when I was in kindergarten, and I was told my whole family would be hurt if I said anything. And I got beat up so many times. Anyway, so celebrations. Celebrate the fun parts of school, the things the family has to look forward to, progress, perseverance. Did you know that when the brain has something to look forward to, that is actually healthier for the brain than when you're actually doing the thing itself? Have you ever noticed that the anticipation of a vacation sometimes felt a bit more rewarding than the vacation itself? Just little tiny things. Friday night we're having, camp in the backyard night. That gives them something to look forward to, and it can really sort of allay a lot of the troubling emotions associated with school. And life is not 100% school. It gives them that perspective as well. Mm-hmm. I mentioned journaling a minute ago, that can be a journal to themselves, or it could be a parent-child journal. You can give them journal prompts, or just free flow stream of consciousness. One beautiful thing about writing your thoughts down, your feelings down, is that it naturally slows the brain down. I've mentioned before that about 95% of our thoughts are automatic, and a lot of times words come out before we've even hit the brake pedal and to stop and think before we speak. But the act of writing forces you to slow down. So many things get figured out. Self-awareness. You're also growing literacy, of course. But yeah, journaling is so fantastic. And I know, yes, we know about journaling, that the benefits of it are monstrous. Collaborative problem solving. Remember, kids want to feel some agency and independence. So let's figure this out together instead of, I'm going to go talk to the teacher. Yes, you need to have conversations with teachers as appropriate. But depending on, did you know as early as age 3, kids start to learn, really arguably before that, but I mean in a way where you're explicitly teaching it. Age 3, it's kind of like, show me the hard part, or tell me the hard part. And by age 5, you are teaching the problem solving steps. Let's identify the problem. What are some possible solutions? Let's think about the likely outcomes if I use this one, which one's the best? Review, revise, that kind of thing. Sometimes role play is fantastic. If they're facing a tough situation, if they don't know how to self-advocate, they don't understand the difference between being assertive versus being aggressive. Assertive being, I do stand up for myself using I statements, but I also care about that it works mutually. Whereas aggression, I think we know what that is. But role play scenarios, that could be asking the teacher for help. It could be dealing with peers, talking through, if your kids have social anxiety, what are some talking points? When you meet people, what are you going to say? And just help them brainstorm things they can talk about, that kind of thing. Okay, let's move on. And a lot of people know about setting goals, but SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Why is this on a show about navigating difficult emotions regarding back to school? Have a kid-directed SMART goal. What do they want to grow in this year? Because I thought of it, it's a great idea. I'm already more engaged. Motivation, dopamine lights up in the brain. And then keep whatever they're working on in school, whatever can fit that goal. How does it relate to that goal? that gives them another reason to keep pushing forward. But specific, describe what you will do, where you will do it, how you will reach the goal. Measurable. This does not have to be 90% or 6 out of 8 times, but I will measure progress by this. I will know I have made progress. I will know how I've reached it. How? A social emotional goal won't have like a percentage or 6 out of 8 times probably. Maybe it's because I made 2 friends and they even invited me over, things like that. Achievable. I know I can do it because. Now, this is good for confidence, but this is also a time for parents we want to encourage our kids, but we also don't want to set them up for failure, because remember, one of the needs of kids is to not be thrown into tasks where they can't succeed. So if you have an 8-year-old who is saying, I'm going to take junior in college Japanese, that's such a bad example. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But is that reasonable? What is a smaller goal? It's really good to make these goals short term. One rung up on the ladder, whatever I'm working on, that is attainable. But when I'm standing on the ground looking at the top of the ladder, that feels out of reach. Right. So chunk it down into and plus that keeps the mojo going. And be sure you celebrate progress. I fell short of my goal. Look how much further you've come. You're just not there yet. But you did this twice as well as you did last time. Another thing that can help kids see progress is to videotape them if it's something videotapable. If it's a sports skill or singing and so that they can objectively kind of take a step back and look at this as a separate person, the before and the after, or the mid, say, wow, I am making progress. Reading out loud, whatever it is. That can be so encouraging. Relevant. I care about this goal because that is motivation. If you're doing a kid-directed SMART goal, they are going to care about this. And by the way, by doing a kid-directed SMART goal, they are growing executive function abilities that will then apply to the goals you wish they had made instead of the one they picked. You are growing the same skills they need to reach the goals you as a family need them to reach. What is the deadline? By when do you want to accomplish this goal? We don't just want to talk about end of the year. It can be a couple weeks, depends on the age, a month, 1 week even maybe. I'm going to go 5 days in a row doing XYZ. I can revise. You can have I ran into this kind of little stumbling block. What is a possible solution? Or I haven't reached my goal yet. What are strategies I can try? This gives kids so much hope because they need to know that there are multiple pathways to a goal. If you have kids who struggle with rigid thinking, I'm right, you're wrong, everything's great, everything's horrible, it's black, it's white, it's in, it's out. This will help them a lot. Okay, let's move on. All right, are you nervous, parents? We've talked a lot about the kids. All right, so what is a good way to get a relationship going? And Jessica is an expert on this, having been a teacher for so long. But in my years, here are some strategies I found, and I did work in the schools many moons ago. But a specific topic in the subject line. I can tell you, I get so many hundreds of emails a day. Knowing what the topic is, it really helps you prioritize and get to the ones that, okay, this is something I need to address right away. Proactive, focused communication of concerns. My son does not have a 504 or IEP because he's too smart. That happens a lot. There are kids who fall through the cracks. These laws are set up for the masses, and we are human beings, not boxes. Right. So this is how it plays out. And here are some strategies. Last year's teachers found successful. These are strategies we tried this summer that worked really well. Bullet point form, brief. Remember, it is the start of school. How many students did they have? Your student matters. But when you show empathy, like we're on the same team, I'm so excited you're the teacher. I know that this is such a busy time. It takes time to get to know all the students. This is just one of the toughest jobs in the world. Thank you. I'm so grateful for what you do. I just ask for just a quick reply, simply so I know you received it, and I'll follow up in a couple of weeks. You are not putting pressure on the teacher. You're taking the onus on yourself, introducing, being proactive, And then a couple of weeks later, I'm following up as I promised. You're not being a hound. You are being accountable, doing what you said you would do. It's always good to express genuine gratitude. Sarah has talked about how sweet you are, and you're encouraging. That means the world to me. She needs that. I want to make things easier for you. Please let me know what I can do to support you in working with Jaden.
I love that. That's amazing. Especially showing that gratitude for the teachers, because they don't often hear it. So when it comes from a parent, it means, just a simple little sentence, even a simple thank you means the world. Like, it would just bring the teacher to tears probably. So that is fantastic.
Yeah. And I put happy thoughts here because I have known, multi-thousands of teachers in my career, because I'm old. And I know that a lot of the families we work with have had some unfortunate experiences. I really, really, really believe that is the exception and not the rule. This is I have a lot of teachers in my personal life as well that are dear, dear friends. They would move heaven and earth to do what's best for the student. Sometimes I don't know what that is. It's not a teacher's fault if they don't know about the visual perception and processing issues. But just give this teacher the benefit of the doubt. And I am very sorry I know there are a lot of bad experiences out there, not taking anything away from that. Mm-hmm. Jessica has a teaching background. Just try to, just like if you break up with a boyfriend, you don't want to get mad at the cat and kick the dog and then treat the next boyfriend as if he's doing something. Just get off on the right foot. And if you have anything you need to work through, talk those out with a friend. Be sure, be really careful too, I would say, about what you're saying, even if you disagree with something from school personnel in the kids' hearing, because that can change their attitude. And, oh, my parents don't respect this person, so I don't either. And then that it's just snowballs. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, let's move on. That's it.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Heather, for all of the information that you shared today. I am sure it's going to help parents feel a little bit easier about back to school, because it can be a stressful time. Heather is always checking the inbox, so make sure you reach out to her. You can see all of the contact information on the screen for your local Brain Balance. Heather, do you have anything else to add before we sign off today?
I guess the only thing is to let everyone know that I send out a weekly newsletter chock full of all kinds of helpful tips, all evidence-based activities to do. Of course, this week's will have a lot to do with dealing with the first few days of school, really important kind of decompression activities. But each week it's different topics. So just shoot us a message if you want to get on that mailing list.
Amazing. So sign up for that newsletter and let Heather know if you'd like to get that in your inbox. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Yeah.